Commentary comes from Martin Brundle and David Croft.
Well, the boys of summer are back, and it's summer sunshine that we return to. Welcome to Spa, and you really are welcome to Spa today. It is absolutely glorious here. Best weather we've ever had for a Belgian Grand Prix. It is round 13 of the Formula One season in 2016, and we approach a qualifying hour with more penalties than Euro 96, Euro 2000, Euro 2004, and the rest all combined, quite frankly. We have Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Marcus Ericsson and Esteban Gutierrez as well, all picking up penalties before we even start with the on-track action. And what a track to return to. 44 laps for tomorrow's race, 4.35 miles long, 19 corners, elevation changes everywhere you look. It's a blast through the Ardennes forest and aided by 2 DRS zones. Down the main straight to La Source and along the Camel Straight to the Les Cons chicane. That is the sight. Spa absolutely packed out with a lot of British fans, a huge amount of Dutch support for Max Verstappen as well, and the Belgian locals have made their pilgrimage to umbrellas necessary, but only to shield yourself from the sun. It's not just going to take its toll on the fans, the sun today, but on the tyres as well, Martin Brundle. So there's a dilemma for the teams. The super soft, the soft, the medium. Well, the medium should last, the soft should last.
And that's why they're treating it like a qualifying tyre. They're just coasting out of the pits. And even the first part of their hot lap, of the timed lap that they're expecting to set their grip positions with or to get through to the next round of qualifying, they're not really pushing the car too much early on. They need the grip through the middle part of the lap and in the final chicane. So it's they're treating them like a pure qualifying tyre, and that's why they're not going to last very long in the race. But they are over a second a lap faster around here. So these temperatures have definitely caught out Pirelli, caught out the teams with their tyre choices and tyre options. And 41 degrees here on the track in Spa. I remember being here in 85 when it was really hot, and we went home after Saturday because the track broke up. And we came back later in the year, believe it or not. They just put a new surface down. No such problems with the surface today, but the surface of the tyres is a different story.
It has to be said, the packed banks on the Camel Straight rather resemble the beach at Walton on the Naze, but you haven't got your shirt off on the banks this afternoon. It really is absolutely glorious here. And it could be a glorious opportunity today for the likes of Force India to spring a surprise, for Red Bull maybe to take a second pole of the season, for Ferrari to come back from the summer break with a bang, and for Nico Rosberg to do, well, the first part of what he really has to do, and that's to get pole with his teammate at a massive hindrance with a 55-place grid penalty.
Yeah, but the pair of them, we don't know the fuel load or the engine power mode, but the pair of them went for a run, didn't they, in the Mercedes this morning? Didn't threaten Raikkonen's time at all. Several tenths off, so very curious FP3 this morning. And you're right, if somebody hooks a nice lap up, they could put themselves well inside the top 6, for example. But I think tomorrow, if they find the sweet spot on balance and tyre wear, tyre temperature, they could have a great afternoon.
I've just had a text from a friend of mine saying, Sergio Perez, dark horse for the weekend? Maybe not so much of a dark horse. Force India were looking very good on the long run pace yesterday in free practice 2. It is a 19-point lead then that Lewis Hamilton has going into this race weekend, after at one stage being 43 points behind his teammates after the crash in Spain. He has a 55-place grid penalty for taking a whole host of new elements for his power unit. Fernando Alonso has a 35-place grid penalty. Brand new power unit installed in that car after FP1 because of a water leak in the ERS system. Marcus Ericsson gets a 10-place grid penalty for a new turbocharger, and Esteban Gutierrez gets a 5-place grid penalty after practice this morning for basically putting Pascal Wehrlein on the grass. He also gets 3 points on his super license as well. Easy decision for the stewards to make, right decision?
I heard you saying, could Wehrlein have gone round to the left of him? I don't know if he was expecting him to go left. That was the long way round. But it comes back to that coasting out problem. I mean, it used to be in the 80s when we had pure qualifiers. It was an awful problem because somebody like Senna would be coming through with an incredible pace as we get close to.
So there goes the green light then, and away we go for qualifying 1. A little refresher for you, 18 minutes of action, and we lose the slowest 6 drivers. The rest, the other 16 go through to Q2, and the top 10 will then do battle for pole position a little bit later on in Q3. Now, will we see Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Marcus Ericsson come out into this session? Looks like Hamilton is there getting ready to come out. This is the tale of the power units for this weekend. You're allowed 5 for the season. What we have is actually a slight mistake on that graphic. He has used 1 extra internal combustion engine. So he's on his 6th, but he is on his 8th MGUH, his 8th turbocharger, and his 6th MGUK. So he'll pick up respective grid penalties for each one of those, but it's definitely a 6th internal combustion engine. He's looking like he's ready to come out. Daniel Ricciardo might take a little bit longer. Ted already out somewhere down below us here. Our commentary box is right above the team's garages. Afternoon, Ted.
Afternoon, Crofty. Afternoon, Martin. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm just next to the Red Bull garage, actually, between them and Force India. We haven't spoken too much about Force India, have we? They could be a dark horse for this afternoon, but let's just update you on progress to Max Verstappen's car. It is all back together. It is fixed. They believe, touch wood, they hope that the gearbox sensor problem that they had at the beginning or midway through Free Practice 3 has been fixed. They have not had to change the gearbox, so there is no 5-place grid penalty, as Christian Horner did indeed tell us at the end of Free Practice 3 earlier this morning, so that's good news for him. Danny Kvyat not looking too good, and is one of the possibilities of going out early, as well as this man Marcus Ericsson, so they're two to watch out for early on. We do believe that Lewis Hamilton will try and do a time in Q1 to be inside the 107%, just to avoid any unnecessary trips to the stewards, and there is some worry, Crofty, about Fernando Alonso's Honda engine.
I can clear that up.
There was some thought that actually McLaren should do a Mercedes and do multiple engine changes to introduce Alonso some new elements to the pool so that he doesn't have to go through this grid penalty pain again for the rest of the season. They haven't done that particularly, but yeah, why don't you clear up what is his current problem?
Yes. Amanda at Honda sent us all a message saying that they did find a data anomaly in Fernando's power unit at the end of FP3. They checked it all thoroughly and fully, and they're going to run it in qualifying. So no extra penalties for Fernando Alonso, but a lot of you have been getting in touch via social media to say all this stockpiling and taking on extra engines and extra elements, it really isn't in the spirit of the regulations, but it was done last year once the rule was changed, Martin, to stop these penalties being carried over. The likes of the Renault runners and Honda themselves, decided, well, that's what we're going to do. We'll take one big hit and all the pain, and then we'll be okay for the next few races. Is it against the spirit of the sportsmanship of the regulations?
Yes, I hear what the fans are saying there now. Give certain drivers, loads of engines, maybe against their driver, loads of engines and power modes for the rest of the year. I think we also have to remember, though, that they've taken some pain. If they had an engine problem in qualifying or the race, the drivers have already had one penalty, if you like, in that respect. And then it's in for a second one with a pit stop, with a grid drop, as it were. Look how dirty it is on the outside of the racetrack if you run just a little bit wide. As
Grosjean has been doing on many an occasion so far this weekend. And mighty save in FP3 this morning, round about Stavolo and the curve Paul Frere. Both of the Mercedes runners are out on the track. Rosberg's come out on the soft tyre, Hamilton's come out on the super soft tyre. As Grosjean brakes for the bus stop chicane. Just ahead of him is Marcus Ericsson. You can see Ericsson there in the Sauber, starting his first time lap. Grosjean with a 1:49.5. His teammate Esteban Gutierrez had 1:49.2. And last year, 1:48.9 was the fastest time from Lewis Hamilton in Q1. Here he is. He'll be going a little bit faster, Martin, in a few moments' time, but not a lot. I think the idea is, as Ted was saying, stay within 107%, but don't do too much to get yourself out of Q1.
I guess they won't want to use up too much engine mileage by putting a really high level, as we see in Rivage here in Gutierrez. If you miss the sweet spot of that corner, there's a lot of grip up the inside on the way in. You've got to turn in early, and if you don't get there, you're in double trouble because there's no grip in the middle of the corner, and then it tightens through the exit. This one, call it Liège if you like. I know it's got no name on the map, but somebody local told me it was called Liège a few years ago. Haven't ever seen it printed anywhere, mind you.
It is the corner with no name.
And Fania chicane.
Which should be printed on every map, the corner with no name.
That's a really good chicane, that is. So much grip. This is downhill. You brake downhill and a frustrating corner. This should be absolutely full throttle. And now you've got to keep it a little bit tighter this year. You can't run wide. You'll pay a price out there. And then really not a lot to do apart from keep the throttle pedal nailed all the way through a corner that used to give us sleepless nights and is now just an extension of the straight with these cars. And he has to break up the inside there, which cost him a little bit as the Manor prepares for its fast lap. And Ericsson crosses the line, stays right for the shortest route, and third at the moment, but it's not going to stay that way, of course.
Yeah, third of 3. That's putting a gloss on it there from Marcus Ericsson, who might lead his teammate Felipe Nasser 7-5 in the Sauber head-to-head. But it's been a little bit better for Nasser in recent times. And man, of course, who celebrated his 21st birthday just a week or so ago. Here's Pascal Wehrlein on track at the moment for a Manor team who might just harbour ambitions of getting one of their cars out of Q1 if Hamilton and Alonso and Ericsson all decide that it's not worth getting out of Q1. That might just open the door for one of the Manors.
Well, I see the same thing happening at Manor as happened at Red Bull when Verstappen turned up, and the incumbent driver suddenly finds a quarter of a second that they didn't realise was there. I think there'll be more at Manor, and I think Wehrlein and Ocon will be a great little partnership for us to observe through the rest of the season.
There's no love lost, I don't think, between either driver. They're not exactly best of friends, or haven't exactly been best of friends in the past, and both super keen to make their impression. So that's got all the recipe for a really great battle. It's everything you need. Wehrlein goes fastest for the 1:48.9. We're on board with Nico Rosberg. Soft compound tyres on. The difference between the soft and the super soft should be about 1.2 seconds on average. Some interesting news from the stewards. In 2 seconds' time, we'll finish the end of this lap with Nico Rosberg. 1:48.0, goes fastest by nearly a second, and he's on the soft compound tyre. Felipe Nasser has just straight-lined the corner at Radion at the top of Eau Rouge, and has cut the corner and has exceeded track limits, and they've just deleted his time. Now, the FIA promised to get tough on track limits, particularly at turn 4, that on the inside, where the more you can straight line it, the more speed you can carry through the corner. And Martin, it does seem that tough is the word of the day, and they are going to delete times whenever it happens.
That's good, isn't it? Because it's such an easy win at the top of the hill there, and you'll carry whatever speed you carry through here a little bit extra, because you can carry more apex speed at the bottom of the hill, and then that's cheating effectively. That's like kicking your ball out of the rough when you're playing around a golf. And then you will carry more speed all the way up the Kemmel Straight.
For info, Nasser's lap time was deleted for track limits at turn 4.
And Kevin Magnussen has just gone and done the same thing. Well, we think he's gone and done the same thing, but he's definitely gone off the track at turn 4. You're not likely to be going wide to the outside at turn 4, not unless you've got a major problem. Kimi Räikkönen will just keep a focus on this lap. Very quick in the first sector, decent middle sector as well, goes fastest by 1/10 of a second. Räikkönen, after his summer where he got married, has returned, Martin, to a track that we know he loves, where he was on pole in 2007 and just looked like a man reborn, quite frankly.
That was super softs against the Mercedes softs though, wasn't it? But Kimi, a bit of a specialist in a lot of places in the world, but especially around Spa. He's always been so good here.
Has he got the beating of his teammate Sebastian Vettel? First and foremost, that's the man he does, I think, set the target against. Vettel now goes quicker by 1/10 of a second. So it's Ferrari 1-2, Mercedes 3, and then Manor 4. We've had 12 times so far. Lewis Hamilton crossed the line in a 1:50.0.
Rather underlines what a great lap Wehrlein has done, doesn't it? He's only 1.1 behind the works Ferraris.
Well, I think the fact is that he's ahead, and sadly we've got a problem with our tyre information at the moment. But I think they were all on the super softs, so to be ahead of Massa, Button, and ahead of the two Haas cars as well. All on the super soft tyres, yeah. Kevin Magnussen's had his time deleted, which is why you now don't see Kevin Magnussen on that board.
And that's not a small issue here at Spa, because it's such a long lap, the longest of the year. You've then got to go out and we've got to get in the pits for starters after your hot lap. You then got to sort the car out and do a long out lap, which is very slow to save the tyres. So you don't get a lot of opportunity here to get it wrong too often.
That's Sergio Perez going into turn 1 and rather getting it wrong. It's not cost him too much. He's got a 1:48.1 on the board. That's how you're meant to take it, Martin, I would assume.
Yeah, just keep a couple of tyres in contact with the black stuff that we've actually rented for the weekend.
So 2 have their times deleted. And what does that basically mean now that Magnussen has got 1 run and 1 run only to get himself into Q2?
Yeah, you're not going to get 2 runs in, are you?
No.
That'll be effectively, you've got to do 4 laps in that time and a pit stop to get 2 runs in before the flag drops. As always, of course, you can complete your lap as long as you start it before the checkered drops.
The thing is, there he is, just in the background there, coming in to his pit box. He's got 6.5 minutes to go of this session. Ricciardo hasn't got a time on the board yet. Neither has Fernando Alonso. Whether we see Fernando Alonso in this session is another matter. They might just decide, well, we can get the stewards to let us race because we've set a fast enough time in practice and not bother going out at all.
He's very well behaved over the top of Radion there.
I think the message might be travelling faster through the pit lane than Daniel Ricciardo is doing on the Kemmel Straight at the moment.
Car sparking away, they'll have a new floor on it for the Grand Prix. Ready for the Grand Prix, they're going to Parc Fermé, of course, and the moment they roll out for the first part of qualifying, so new plank underneath, new skid blocks, a little bit more meat on it, as we've seen them coming out of turn, what must be 6 and 7. If they ride the curb there, they're making quite a mess of the underneath of the car. I noticed they were putting a used plank back on Hamilton's car as they were preparing it for race day.
Now this is Fernando Alonso who has stopped, and that's the side of the McLaren just being wheeled back in. So he has come out of the onto the track, and I think at the top of Eau Rouge where he was there, that is the end of Fernando Alonso's qualifying. So where Honda said they had a data anomaly that they thoroughly checked and they were planning to run the same power units in this qualifying session as they had run in FP2 and FP3, something else seems to have gone wrong.
I know a little bit of Spanish, and Fernando wasn't the happiest person. No, she was talking about the car. He wasn't the happiest person in the McLaren motorhome between sessions either, as he came steaming in.
7th fastest for Daniel Ricciardo, which with 4.5 minutes to go, he will hope is enough. Somebody get this man a deck chair.
He's a long way from home as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Ron Dennis, who turned up to the track at around about an hour and a half to go before qualifying started. Maybe wishing now that he hadn't bothered. Eric Boulier on the pit wall, racing director. This weekend, by the way, the new CEO, Jos Capito, is in the McLaren garage. Hasn't officially started yet. The man has come from VW. He was with Sauber before then to VW and masterminded their rally program. But he's taking notes in the garage, not wearing team kit, and I wonder what he'll be saying.
Yeah, he starts September 1, as I understand it. So Rosberg was on the softs, everybody else on the super softs. And interesting to see Verstappen and Ricciardo then matching each other 2-3 decimal places in only 6th and 7th.
Good enough so far. Verstappen ahead of Ricciardo, who has out-qualified his teammate in every single race this season, bar one. A great record in qualifying as Grosjean goes 9th fastest and then 10th, because Gutierrez goes 9th fastest, and there's 2 Haas drivers there matching each other's times to within 100th of a second. Ted, down to you.
Those looking in trouble, the Renault drivers. Kevin Magnussen is definitely, and they both just left the garage, both of them, Palmer and Magnussen. So they thought they were going to have a bit of a hard time here at this track, and so it has proved as well. I'm just waiting to see if we see the Williams of Felipe Massa. I would expect we will. Is that the shot you can see, Crofty?
Yeah, look like Felipe
that's
Massa coming
that's
out.
him. Yep, right in front of me. Indeed, he does. That's a wise decision as well. With all these dropouts, with Hamilton not going for another one, he's going to be out, and Alonso out as well. They might not need to do this, but better safe than sorry for Williams.
Yeah, well, Massa's on the cusp, isn't he? 1:48.9 for him. Jolyon Palmer coming out. Jenson Button will be on the cusp as well. You'd imagine McLaren would send Jenson Button out. Yes, they have. And Carlos Sainz coming out as well. Pascal Wehrlein is coming out for Manor. So maybe the cutoff is a 1:48.9. Gutierrez and Grosjean have now gone for their second run, so they're done. And anyone else with a 1:48.9 will think, yeah, we are going to have to go again here. And are doing so. 2 minutes to go. They've all got to get to the checkered flag before it drops. Hamilton has finished qualifying and has gone to take the dogs for a walk, sit in the back of the hospitality unit, watch from the garage. I'm not quite sure.
It's not good, is it? We want to see who's fast this afternoon. I had an idea that maybe they can take some points, constructors' points, find the team's constructors' points if they need to use extra engines. They won't keep throwing engines at them then, so it doesn't penalise the drivers. It does hurt the teams, it'll hurt their finances, and that will hurt the big, rich teams more than the little teams. So that, and the whole purpose of the engine and gearbox penalty situation is to try to control costs.
Yep.
We used to throw an engine at a car at least once a day, a brand new engine. Teams had 60 to 80 engines in the system, rotating in transit, in the car, under repair. It was nonsense. We had to do something about that. But unfortunately, it's compromising the racing and the enjoyment of the fans, which is the last thing you want to do. There has to be another way to give the teams pain, to stop them, especially the rich teams, just throwing engines at cars.
It's team sport, though, isn't it? So you win as a team and you lose as a team.
But I like that disconnects that for something that the drivers can't do anything about. And they, as I said, they've already taken a penalty to a certain extent in a qualifying or a race situation.
Jolyon Palmer then starts his run. We have Alonso out for the second time in successive races at Spa. We have Hamilton out for the second time this season in Q1 as well. We have Felipe Nasser needing to get a time in because his first time was deleted. We have Kevin Magnussen facing the same problem. Then we have Esteban Ocon and Marcus Ericsson in the bottom 6 at the moment. We also have Danny Kvyat, Jolyon Palmer, Carlos Sainz, Jenson Button, Felipe Massa and Pascal Wehrlein all trying to go faster, and they've all made it to the checkered flag in time, and Carlos Sainz was the last person to cross the line before it dropped. So let's have a look then at some of the split times. Jolyon Palmer, 31 seconds exactly for the first sector, and his teammate 2/10 up on him. Lewis Hamilton talking to the media. We'll hear from him in just a few moments' time once we've sorted out the end of Q1. Palmer continues on his way whilst Felipe Massa sets the fastest first sector time of all. Wehrlein only a 1/10 of a second actually off Felipe Massa. That manner once again very quick in a straight line. Palmer is 7/10 down on the fastest time through the first 2 sectors, but going nicely. His teammate Kevin Magnussen behind him is roundabout identical terms to within a few hundredths of a second.
Yeah, important laps. They know they've got an extra opportunity now with Alonso out and Hamilton out. It's easier to get into Q2 than it has been for a while, and that's what Jolyon Palmer's trying to do as he does his last few meters to the line. Palmer then goes 11th with that.
So Kevin Magnussen is next to cross the line. Can Jolyon Palmer make it Q2 for the second race in a row? Well, he's now 12th because Magnussen's replaced him in 11th. Ericsson will take a 10-place grid drop wherever he finishes here, and he's 15th at the moment. Esteban Ocon is next. Now he's 15th and gets himself out of the bottom 6. Pascal Wehrlein next across the line goes 8th fastest overall. Felipe Nasser needs a time, hasn't got one yet, has got one now. So that means that Ericsson goes down, his teammate into the bottom 6. Danny Kvyat is down in the bottom 6 as well. Felipe Massa crosses the line, goes quickest of all. Felipe Massa with a 1:47.7. Jenson Button 11th as he crosses the line, and Carlos Sainz completes it to go 15th, leaving Alonso, Hamilton, Ericsson, Kvyat, Ocon and Nasser are the 6 that make their way out of qualifying qualifying. Manor get through with Pascal Wehrlein. Esteban Ocon's Formula One qualifying debut ends in a slight disappointment for him, but no disappointment on the face of Jonathan Palmer as his son Jolyon gets into Q2 for the second race in a row. Alonso stopped on the track with problems. He's got a 35-place grid penalty. Lewis Hamilton has a 55-place grid penalty. We knew we'd only do one run. Let's hear what he had to say about it right now.
Well, this is a strange situation for you to be in. Lewis, qualifying, if you step forward, you hopefully be out of the sun. Qualifying over for you for today. So how's the car?
The car's okay. Yeah, it's definitely a weird qualifying session for me. I've never done it where I've qualified 18th. Kind of, yeah. Today was really important for us to make sure the car was right for tomorrow. You know, so there's no point in showing any pace today. It was all about getting the car right. So.
You must have spoken to the team about what you do in the race tomorrow, what chance you've got. What is the plan? Can you tell us any part of your plan or what you're thinking tomorrow?
I can't tell you any of it because firstly I haven't even told them what I'm doing, so they don't even know.
So you're going to make a decision on what to do and what tyre to start on and that sort of thing? With their help?
The team will do that, yeah. We know already what best the tyre is. I mean, the medium and the soft are the best ones. The super soft is terrible. Just won't. I just drove the super soft and it lasted like 3 laps.
So you could have some fun tomorrow, though, couldn't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think look, we're not easily the quickest here, and there's going to be the others. Looks like they've got a lot of pace, and because of the temperatures, it's actually probably the worst time to take the penalties. But it is what it is. So starting from the back, we're all going to have massive degradation. The stops are going to be 2 to 3 stops tomorrow. I don't know who's going to be able to look after our tyres and not. We are all struggling to look after our tyres, so it's going to be. It's not going to be a cool, easy breezy day tomorrow where I'm just picking one by one off, because I might get past 3 cars and my rear tyres might be gone. So it's an awkward scenario, but we're trying to do our best in terms of set the car up and make sure we're best prepared for tomorrow.
And Johnny, that's all he could do.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a smart thing to do. He's obviously happy with the balance of the car, obviously going for the race tomorrow, and I think that was a smart thing for him. He seems to be confident. It's just going to be all down to these times, which I think is brilliant.
It's quite interesting, what just picking up on what he was saying there. If the weather does change and it's on the turn, lower temperatures and rain tomorrow, Lewis was saying that the medium and the soft, he says the super soft there, is useless. And just going back to the point we were making in the build-up to the show with Ferrari, just having the one set, I don't know. Would seem to play against them.
Yeah, I'd be very shocked if I see a set of super softs on Lewis's car tomorrow. He's going to be all medium softs. Soft's a preferred tyre, and the soft is a high working range. Like you say, temperature is expected to be 3 degrees lower, but the thing you've got to take in there, cars in front of him, dirty downforce, and just sliding around a bit more.
Right, you two, you both picked Esteban Ocon to perhaps come out ahead of that battle between the pair at Manor. But yeah, it was a good start for Wehrlein, half a second ahead of his new teammates.
Yeah, well, which is not a bad start for Esteban, to be perfectly honest. But, Wehrlein had that experience in that car, used it to its full potential, and that's why he was ahead of his teammates.
Yeah, I think the question was who's going to come out on top, and still a few races to go. But that's a pretty good effort, I think, by Ocon. I think he should be happy with that within half a second. But ultimately, Wehrlein needs to raise his game as well, so good battle.
That was Fernando Alonso. We're going to have a pair of world champions on the back row of the grid, because for him, 35 places, for Lewis Hamilton, 55. Trying to get to the bottom of exactly why Fernando Alonso stopped on track, but he's gone and he can just put his feet up, much like Lewis Hamilton can, but he doesn't look too happy about it. Just going back to the manners there, I mean, the whole season, as far as I understand it, has been geared towards Spa, and in particular, Monza, where they really feel like they've got an opportunity to pick up points. And I would have thought, from seeing him in the speed traps, to do with straight line speed. Yeah,
again, yes, they've got that slick car. They haven't got that downforce that you need. You can see they were suffering a little bit in that middle sector, which is exactly what you expect. But you're right, Simon, they've got those 2 long straights. Plus we're going to Monza, where they can really utilise that. So a smart sort of move on Manor to maybe, get a good result. And the way that Wehrlein did today, who knows tomorrow with the tyres.
We saw Jonathan Palmer. He was pretty happy that his son had got through to Q2. In fact, both of the Renaults did. It's Nasser, Ocon, Kvyat, Ericsson, Hamilton and Alonso out in Q1.
So then, for the second time this season, Pascal Wehrlein makes his way into Q2. Did it in Austria, went and scored a point in Austria as well. And like Austria, Spa, a track that he has driven on before. Seems to be where Wehrlein has experience, Martin Brundle. He puts it to very good use.
Yes, that's a tremendous... He did 2 tremendous laps in there, actually, and, you know, got himself well inside the barrier, didn't he, to get himself into Q2. It's the, as I said earlier, the longest lap of the year, but, you know, 1.2 seconds from fastest, and you're out of the action, as Felipe Nasser found out. He was 1.211 seconds behind, and boom, good night, thank you, go home. We've had enough of you, and that tells you how the pack and closing up quite nicely in that respect. It's a tough old racetrack, this one, and aerodynamically very challenging.
So Williams topped the session with Felipe Massa. First time they've actually been fastest in any session, practice or any of the qualifying sessions this season. Last time they were quickest in anything was Russia in FP2 last year. And Pirelli are saying that there's around a 1.2 second difference between the super soft and the soft compounds, which is a very big advantage over a very long lap. And have Mercedes got enough in hand to get through into Q3 by running the soft tyre, and could anyone else join them?
Maybe a tyre they want to start the race on, but they're and that makes me surprised then that they put Rosberg out on a set of soft tyres. But Ted, what news have you got?
Well, the reason they did was to give him the experience, because he's now gone out again on a set of soft tyres, so that's clearly their intention. Mercedes do then believe, or want to try and get into, or rather out of Q2 on the soft tyre compared to the super soft. The super soft has been blistering up, and it's not really of much use to anybody apart from when you get through to Q3 and do the final lap. So yeah, we'll soon see him on the TV, I'm sure. Nico Rosberg on the soft tyre again. Just a quick one on Danny Kvyat. That didn't do much to improve his mood after the summer break. He was just over 2/10 behind his teammate Carlos Sainz. Sainz got through, of course, Kvyat didn't. But Kvyat was saying that he felt like that was the best he could do with the car.
Yeah, problem for Toro Rosso, because they got the 2015 Ferrari engine in. It will have no upgrades through the year, so they knew that as the year progressed...
Seems like my tire is loose.
Front right, looking a bit wobbly. I did wonder why Pascal Wehrlein was coming back in again.
It's sometimes better to keep that off the radio, because if not, you'll get a penalty for unsafe release. The car was sent out with a problem, but it's back. Unfortunately, it does take a little bit of life out of the tyres, even a calm lap like that. And we've seen Ferrari's strategy then, straight away. The yellow mark soft tyres too.
And Red Bull too, Martin.
They think they've got enough pace.
That is the tyre they want to start the race on. In a way, it's a bit of a no-brainer, because the super soft looks like it will do, you know, 1 or 2 laps, doesn't it, in the race before they'd need to be pitting and then going straight back into all the traffic.
So out they come then, as Nico Rosberg is now going to start his flying lap, and he's going to have to make his way through a few of his rivals in the championship on their out lap. Rosberg wearing the soft compound tyres, as you can see, and making his way down past Sebastian Vettel towards Eau Rouge, and making the climb then up over the top of the hill, keeping at least 2 of the tyres outside of the white lines, or inside of the white lines, depending on your perspective. And now on towards the Les Combes chicane, the rear wing that the team debuted in Azerbaijan, wide open, with the DRS giving him extra pace along that straight. Martin.
They have to choose their allocation 8 weeks in advance for European races. Rosberg, Raikkonen and Vettel chose 5 of these sets of tyres to come here for the entire weekend, that is, not just for qualifying and the race, whereas Ricciardo and Verstappen have only 3 of them. So Red Bull don't have the scope that Ferrari and Mercedes have, in terms of if this really is the one and only sensible tyre for the race.
So Rosberg continues on his way, a 30.3 for the first sector. What is going to be a time for a top 10? Round about a 1:48.4-ish, something like that. And what did Rosberg do in the first session? A 1:48.0. So he should be okay if he can keep that form going. Verstappen's come out, I thought he had, on the super soft tyre. So whereas Ricciardo's on the soft, Verstappen's on the super soft.
Perez and Hülkenberg too, but they've been keeping, Force India have been keeping their tyres in better, haven't they, than probably anybody else.
Rosberg crosses the line, a 1:46.9 for Nico Rosberg. Have Mercedes just turned up the wick? Niki Lauda seems rather pleased with their efforts on that one. Let's hear from Esteban Ocon now after his first ever Formula One qualifying. Sadly for him, only 18th fastest.
Esteban, how was your first experience of qualifying?
Pretty tough, I would say. For sure, it's not easy to start midway through the season. So yeah, I need a bit more running with the super soft tire. We saw this morning that I was quite quick with the soft. As soon as we put the super soft, you know, I need to improve a bit. But that's, I think, normal with the experience coming, and it should come in the next Grand Prix.
What did you learn from that qualifying session today that maybe you hadn't expected beforehand?
Yeah, I was not expecting to be so tough with traffic. It's pretty difficult to manage. Everyone's slowing down and having different pace. So yeah, more I will drive, and more I will expect that in the future.
Will you sleep well tonight?
I will, yeah, for sure.
GP3 champion in 2015, Esteban Ocon. We'll see him on the grid tomorrow. Sergio Perez, another that came up through the ranks of GP3, GP2 as well. He and his teammate Nico Hülkenberg have been very closely matched this weekend. Force India say they target 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th as normally a very good weekend for them. And they will be certainly trying to do that, if not a little bit better, for this afternoon. Perez now through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane, nicely under control into that final corner. It must just seem like an eternity before the drivers can get the car straight enough to get the power fully on. Goes second fastest on the super soft tyre behind Nico Rosberg. Here's Hülkenberg now. And, Gutierrez and Button and Magnussen behind him, and his teammate Sergio Perez too, as he goes second fastest. Kimi Räikkönen on the soft compound tyre. Räikkönen crosses the line, 4th fastest for him, which might well be good enough for Ferrari, with 7.5 minutes to go. The times that they're looking for. Ricciardo goes 5th fastest, so Ferrari with a slight pace advantage, it seems, over Red Bull at times. Vettel goes now 5th fastest, pushes Ricciardo down a bit further, and Räikkönen ahead of Sebastian Vettel there by 0.3 of a second on that particular lap. Now Verstappen on the super soft tyre, in theory, should go above his teammate, the two Ferraris, and does. 2nd fastest, 10th off Nico Rosberg.
Just to remind you, the fastest lap they do, those set of tyres, if they're through to the top 10, they have to start the race on. I think Vettel's 47.9 especially will be leaving him feeling a bit exposed there, down in 6th place. Ricciardo in 7th on a 48.0, the same deal in terms of getting into the top 10 shootout. They're very exposed.
The key is Bottas and Massa, how much faster can they go? Can Grosjean maybe puts himself and maybe Gutierrez for Haas into Q3 for the first time? Has Jenson Button got anything else in the locker as well for Honda? There's quite a big difference, you would imagine. So it's the two Williams, isn't it, and the two Haas's that would be threatening.
The Haas have had a good turn of speed. When it's the Williams, isn't it, that I think could pop a couple of quick laps in. Magnussen there holding on to 10th on a 49.4. It's quite a big window, isn't it? Back from Ricciardo 48.0 to Gutierrez 49.2, but it'll be a bit nervy.
Carlos Sainz reading up on the data before he goes out for his first run in Q2. Let's hear from another Spaniard now, Fernando Alonso, who's with Rachel.
Fernando, it's a pretty challenging weekend for you this weekend. What was the latest problem?
I don't know yet. I think we need to have a little bit more investigation. We saw a problem after the FP3 laps, and we didn't have time before quali to really do the proper investigation. But now in the qualifying we did only 500 meters, so definitely it was something really wrong. we have time now, probably even to change the power unit again, and you know, we start last anyway, so make sure that tomorrow we finish the race without any problem.
So Lewis has got 55 place penalty. If you take another unit, you think you'll be behind him again?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can beat him on that.
And just, and well, that's one thing you'll win this weekend at least. In terms of the season then, I mean, stockpile engines now, it's quite hard work for you at the moment, isn't it? Eric said that he doesn't mind the reliability being an issue as long as the power's coming. Are you feeling the power even in these new engines?
Well, I did 4 laps today, so I have not really a compare, but yeah, I think we are moving in the right direction. Definitely it's painful when you have these problems, these reliability problems, but at the end of the day, it's part of our learning process. We need to understand really what is too fragile still on the power unit, reinforce that part, and making sure that next year we have an engine that is capable to fight for the championship. So, you know, let's see how we ended up this weekend.
Yeah, the problem for Fernando is, of course, there's no warm-up these days, so whatever they bolt in for tomorrow, they've got to get it right first time, and all he's got is the laps to the grid.
And what do you get? 1 lap to the grid. If they take him out of parc fermé, put the new engine in,
yeah,
that's just 1 lap to the grid then, isn't it?
Yeah.
He doesn't even get the choice of a few more.
Yeah, if he starts in the pit lane, he's only allowed 1 lap, isn't he?
Yeah. But at least he beats Lewis on the amount of penalty points, or penalty places he can pick up this weekend.
So this will be a telling lap then from Williams. We saw he went faster, didn't he, in the in Q1?
He did. 10 years to the day since he picked up his first win in Formula 1 as well, Felipe Massa. The Turkish Grand Prix in 2006. They were all a little bit younger and had a bit more hair in those days, including Felipe himself. Valtteri Bottas on the track as well. Bottas a couple of tenths down on his teammate. Who, of course, previous Spa winner, Felipe Massa, inheriting victory here in 2008 after Lewis Hamilton was penalised for cutting across this very chicane here.
Got too hot into the chicane, unfortunately. Cost him a tenth or 2 in the final part of the lap.
So Bottas goes 6th fastest, ahead of Vettel, ahead of Ricciardo. Massa now goes 6th fastest. That 0.3 of a second the difference between the 2 Williams. So still ahead of Vettel, ahead of Ricciardo. Now, here's the thing. Are they safe, Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel, because they don't believe that Jenson Button or Kevin Magnussen or Romain Grosjean, Jolyon Palmer or Pascal Wehrlein can go any quicker than a 1:47.9. Ted, down to you.
Ferrari aren't sure, so they have sent both Vettel and Raikkonen out on super soft tyres. And let's just see what is going on Ricciardo.
He's staying exactly where he is.
He is, isn't he?
So they obviously, if they've gone out on super softs, Ted, they didn't believe that much in the soft as the way to start the race then, did they? And
well, let's see. Well, let's see if they improve their time.
Yeah.
You would think they would on the super soft, wouldn't
yeah,
you?
and then they're committed to super soft to start the race on.
Indeed.
But they can always abandon that lap if they don't need to do it.
I guess so. I would have thought Kimi's lap certainly was safe. I'm slightly surprised to see him now.
It's almost like they've been surprised by Force India, for example, and then Verstappen going out on the super softs. Maybe they expected everybody to at the sharp end to go out on softs, and they've been a little bit caught out by that, because if they complete that lap, they will go faster, and they will have to start on, well, assuming they don't make mistakes, of course, but super softs.
Indeed, 2 things. First of all, they're not too bad. They're not quite as bad as everybody else on super softs. They haven't been blistering super softs like a lot of other teams have. And secondly, let's not forget the pressure Ferrari are under not to mess things up, generally.
Yes. Yeah. What was the word Lewis used about the super softs when he was talking to Rach? There, I can't remember. Not hopeless, but it might have been hopeless. He was pretty dismissive of the super soft tyre, wasn't he? As anything to do with tomorrow's race.
They might have been okay had temperatures been about 15 degrees lower, but they're not. So there you go. Here's Jenson Button then. 307 kilometers an hour, which is about 12 kilometers an hour down on the likes of Rosberg and Massa through that particular section, but he's looking okay-ish for a top 10 place by 5/100ths of a second. Now, if this is the 3rd best chassis on the grid, Martin, as McLaren claim, this is the part of the track where we should really see him shine.
Should be dead handy down here, shouldn't it? Because this is all about the chassis now, just cascading downhill. long corners that test the aero balance and consistency of your car, that gives the driver the confidence that it will stick as you launch into corners like Pouhon. You brake nicely uphill into the fan chicane. It's a brilliant section of track. It's got so much grip. Lean on the curb through the exit to arrest any slide. Downhill, horrible, nasty little corner, this one. Always slower than you think it's going to be. Now you can let the car go, and you won't lift the throttle again until you get to the end of the lap, that final chicane. And Button then going nicely, very nicely.
1.1 seconds up on a time he needs for the top 10. His 15th qualifying here at Spa in Formula One. Jenson Button won here from pole, of course, for McLaren. The last time he actually won from pole position. Could be his last Spa. Nothing decided in terms of Jenson Button's future. He crosses the line, goes 10th fastest overall. So Ricciardo safe from the threats of Button in the McLaren. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen out on track and going quickly. Esteban Gutierrez is the next to cross the line after Palmer goes 11th. And 11th once again for Esteban Gutierrez, and then for Romain Grosjean. Man, the Haas team missing out on Q3 again by the slenderest of margins. It's still no Q3 appearance for either of those two cars this season. Pascal Wehrlein next across the line, only 14th fastest for Pascal Wehrlein. So Vettel and Räikkönen both safe, because Magnussen now goes 12th fastest, and it's Carlos Sainz who we await now to see when he crosses the line, to see if he can get himself into the top 10. The only person he'll push out, of course, is Jenson Button, not the Red Bull or the Ferrari.
Yeah, they're abandoning those laps. So Ferrari went out sensibly to cover that off.
And Sainz 15th fastest.
Yeah. So Ferrari will not come in the pit, will not complete the lap, will start on soft tyres, and they just gave themselves an each-way bet there. So very smart, actually, wasn't it? But it was a... What we're looking at, Button 48, Ricciardo, he was the one under pressure, wasn't he? By 300ths of a second. Less than that even, he squeezed through there. And Vettel, as Ted pointed out, Räikkönen was somewhat more comfortable anyway.
Yeah, Jenson Button and Daniel Ricciardo get on very well indeed. That 300ths could have tested the friendship.
That's it, P14. Good job, mate. Good job. Best quality of the year.
Great job, guys.
Best quality of the year for Jolyon Palmer, but once again out-qualified by his teammate for what is the 9th time this season. Fellow Brit Jenson Button then reaches Q3 for the 3rd time this season, and actually the 3rd time in the last 6 races. And you kind of got to feel sorry for the Haas team a little bit. Romain Grosjean 11th, Gutierrez was 11th for a while, where he's actually qualified twice in that position this season, and where he's actually finished in that position on 4 occasions this season as well. Oh dear, a bit of dirt being kicked up there by Pascal Wehrlein.
We didn't expect that, eh? No, good job, mate, good job. It's a good lap.
It's a 1:48.4 for Kevin Magnussen, out qualifying Gutierrez and his teammate Palmer, Sainz and Wehrlein as well. And joining him in the knockout zone, Romain Grosjean, leaving 1 McLaren, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Williams, 1 Mercedes, 2 Force Indias and 2 Ferraris to go for pole in just a few moments' time.
Looked a little hairy for a couple of moments, that didn't it, for Daniel Ricciardo?
Yeah, it did, yes, but I think the whole session was very interesting, wasn't it, with the tyre selections that we saw at Rosberg. Okay, exactly what we thought. Ferrari's very shrewd, very clever, having the right tyres for the start of the race tomorrow. But yeah, very, very tight for Red Bull as well. They're going to suffer. We saw Verstappen, obviously, in the super softs as well, so it's going to be a very hard one for them. What, 3 laps we're talking about, Paul, for the race? Those super softs?
I mean, the blisters are as nasty as I've ever saw. They're so wide and so deep, the tyres just delaminating. Have Red Bull just put their eggs in both baskets, you know, because why would they not put Verstappen on soft as well? But yeah, it's a bit more straightforward for some of the guys at the front, but this is the teller, isn't it? Who's got the quickest car come the next session?
Yeah, well, they'll be relying on a fast start with Max Verstappen. They seemed surprised by that. Certainly Kevin Magnussen did. We're hearing over team radio. Yeah, signs of encouragement for Renault.
Yeah, I think so. I think it looked pretty good on track itself. It's something we do know, that straight line speed is something they're still suffering with, but the chassis didn't look too bad here around this Spa circuit. There is a very testing track for the car itself. Middle sector, not too bad.
We didn't mention this at the end of Q1, but Danny Kvyat going out there in 19th. I mean, just his body language since he returned from the summer break, he was saying, he was in the driver's press conference, and you got the feeling from then that actually probably the summer break hadn't done him too much good. He's very down on himself at the moment. Do you think he knows that his fate has been sealed?
Well, it comes across that way. It's quite funny, Simon. You sort of meet him in the pits here, and he seems to be sort of, brushes it off. Everything's okay, everything's okay. But then you see another side to him, which is also negative all the time. And I think he, realistically, inside, has actually, I think, given up hope that he's got to drive next year, because I don't see why you're going to see both sides, and then that performance you see on track is just sadly not good enough at the moment, which is a shame because we know how quick he can be.
Yeah, I mean, but he's the only one, isn't he, in that Red Bull driver program, if you like, from the top dogs in Verstappen and Ricciardo signed up, but he's not been signed up. What does that do for your confidence as a driver?
It does, and he just looks a broken man, like Johnny said. It's certainly in front of the press he does, but what he'll be looking at the likes of Gasly, winning GP2. He didn't have the best reputation, but he somehow turned it around. And Red Bull know they need young guys coming through the system. They know Sainz is he's a very good substitute for that. Any of the guys that need to go in the top, so they're bringing you through. And Danny needs to lift himself, because he can still fight for this. He's still got enough fire in his belly to keep in that car next year if he wants it. But it's about getting that onto the track performance, and that can sometimes be the hard bit.
Just when he needed it as well. I mean, out-qualified by his teammate again, but Jolyon is scrapping hard for his place next year.
Yeah, he is, and I think he's very aware that he needs to sort of get those performances to prove to everybody else, hey guys, I'm still here, and I think I can do you a good job. And it's one of those things, as we know, Paul, that, with the races left, those opportunities are there. You never give up, because you never know. And I think Jolyon, I'm sure, will never give up, and he will always give his ultimate best.
Let's go back to Danny Kvyat. You're speaking with Rachel.
Danny, probably not the qualifying you wanted to come back from the summer break. Just tell us what happened.
No, I think it was a good qualifying, to be honest. I'm happy with my laps, with my progress through Friday, through today. So car is what it is now. It was track that is always going to be difficult for us. So we have to accept it and move forward. I think for the rest of the season, it's not going to be easy for us, for sure.
Yeah, you've got this 2015 Ferrari engine to deal with for the rest of the season. So what can you do from here? What can you do in the race tomorrow? You'll probably have Esteban Gutierrez behind you, maybe, if he can't qualify high enough up.
We'll just do our race. I don't want to predict anything, for sure. Like I said, it's not going to be easy, especially here with the long straights. So no expectations. Still as motivated as ever, though? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Of course, would like always to fight as high positions as possible, but we have to accept what we have now. There's no other choice. Thank you.
Daniel Kvyat was 4th here for Red Bull last season. He'll be doing very well to match that in what is fast becoming a 2016 he would like to forget. So then, after the summer break, we're back to Q3 action now, and who's going to get the first pole of the second part of the season? It's looking quite good if you're Nico Rosberg, although it has to be said pole position is not something that he's actually enjoyed more often than not this year. He's only had 3 wins from pole, but you would argue, Martin, he's never really had a better chance in the last few races of getting pole position, given that his main rival for pace on a Saturday is got his feet up in the motorhome.
Yeah, spectating and feeding the dogs. But a 46.9 on soft compound tyres is a pretty handy time, wasn't it, last time around? 46.999 as it was, so we can expect him a long way, I would thought, into the 45s now, and that might take some beating.
So we have Nico Rosberg, we have, to the delight of the Dutch fans, who I don't think anyone's left in Holland, to be honest, in the Netherlands this afternoon, because they've all made their way here to Spa, and a lot of locals as well, who would say that Max Verstappen was born 50 kilometres away from here in Belgium, so he's ours, thank you very much indeed. There would be, I think, no more popular pole position than Max Verstappen getting his first pole here at Spa today. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo also taking part. Kimi Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel. Räikkönen looking in good shape, and it's 115 races, by the way, since Kimi Räikkönen was last on pole position. The two Force Indias. Force India have only ever had one pole in Formula One. It came here at Spa. Hülkenberg and Perez. The two Williams cars, Bottas and Massa. Bottas, who's not made pole position in his career before. Felipe Massa, who's been on the front row here and not made pole either. And Jenson Button, who will be delighted to be amongst them all, but maybe not expecting more than 10th on the grid.
Good effort from JB there. And certainly Max Verstappen is coasting out, isn't he? Taking as little life out of those tyres as he can get away with. So not pulling any lateral G through the corners. Much not stepping on the noisy pedal. Not doing anything, basically. All you've got to do is make, and that helps drop the tyre pressures as well. Yep. They're very high around here as a mandatory 23.5 front, 22 rear. So it serves a lot of purposes, as long as you've got your brakes up to temperature when you need them into La Source.
Valtteri Bottas then, who was third here at the Belgian Grand Prix qualifying last season, starts his first flying lap of this Q3 session. Sergio Perez has been fourth on the grid here before, making his way through the bus stop and starting his lap now.
Yeah, you can see when they're going to start a lap, they go very wide into that final left-hand turn, so they can squirt the throttle harder with the car pointing straight ahead, and you get much better traction like that. Might gain you a few hundreds. Well, it does gain you a few hundreds.
Which could well help come the end of a 4.35-mile lap. Down and up through Eau Rouge and along to Radion. That's where the FIA are monitoring track limits. A few of you say Nico Rosberg's time in Q2, where he put all four wheels off the track. That was at the corner with no name. And the FIA don't think you get an advantage there. That's why they tolerate it. 30.3 through the first sector for Kimi Raikkonen, 10th up on Bottas and on Perez as well.
So Ferrari went out quite a bit harder on their out lap than as if they want to keep a bit more tyre temperature, tyre pressure than the Red Bulls, for example. And it's Raikkonen who's fastest in the first sector.
Ricciardo has had a really bad first sector. He's about 6/10 down on Sebastian Vettel, for instance, and about half a second down on his teammate Max Verstappen. Really poor first sector for the Australian.
Sounds like a car that locked its brakes into the first corner to me. I can't imagine unless he got all out of shape at the top of Radion.
The 30.2 for Nico Rosberg puts him a 10th up on his nearest rival through the first sector. While we talk about that, Valtteri Bottas negotiates the final corner and sets a 1:47.6. That's the benchmark. I think Kimi Raikkonen has just gone off the track a little bit in the middle sector as well. That's not going to help his chances.
Now you would have seen the Force India, all four wheels off the track at Stavolo. No penalty there. It unquestionably will be slower out there. It's dirty, it's longer. It's only the corners where it matters, where you can gain, that we are concerned about.
Perez, a couple of tenths faster than Bottas in the Williams. Force India with the fastest time. Kimi Raikkonen is going into the pits. He's abandoned his lap. Hülkenberg goes second fastest. It's Force India 1 and 2. Ricciardo next, who had a bad first sector and can only manage fourth fastest of the 4 times that we've had so far. Sebastian Vettel next to cross the line. Vettel goes quickest by a 10th of a second. Last pole for Ferrari, Singapore last year. Here's Verstappen next to cross the line. He's now on pole by 4/10 of a second. Never been on pole in Formula One before. Third on the grid, his best ever effort. He's not on pole now because Nico Rosberg's just taken it, but by only a 10th of a second.
Well, that's a surprise. Clearly, the Mercedes is not keeping its super soft tyres in very well on an entire lap, because that's only a 1/4 of a second faster than he went on the softs, and theoretically should be 1 1/4 seconds, let's say. So it's going to be closer than I perhaps expected.
So there is the man that might be about to put Nico Rosberg under more pressure than Rosberg possibly felt he'd be under going into this Q3 session. Rosberg, Verstappen, Vettel, the 1, 2, 3, Force India 4 and 5, Bottas and Ricciardo 6 and 7. Raikkonen abandoned his lap after going off in the middle part of it. Massa and Button didn't come out of the garage. We can just look here at Sergio Perez and the Force India getting very, very wide. As you mentioned, Martin, you're not going to get an advantage going that far wide out at Stavolo. And I think that's where Kimi Raikkonen went off as well, down at Stavolo. We're going to have a look at it right now.
Yeah, oh, an armful of opposite lock, and just got a little bit punchy with the throttle pedal. Engine spooled up, and the rear tyres said, "You've got to be joking." cannot handle that. I'm going to go sideways and round and round and round. I will not go forwards if you ask me to do that.
So you can see why that lap got abandoned. Let's hear from Jolyon Palmer next, out in Q2, 14th fastest in the qualifying session. He's with Rachel.
Jolyon, best qualifying of the year. What do you put that down to?
A good summer break. No, I think we were on a good roll before the summer break. And yeah, I mean, I was in Q2 in Hockenheim as well. So now 2 in a row in Q2. Also Kevin here as well has done a good job. So we're making progress. Yeah, I think we both did good laps in Q1. My lap in Q2, to be honest, was a little bit scruffy, but it doesn't matter anyway. Gutierrez got a penalty in front, so I'll be next to Kev on the grid. So we can look forward to the race tomorrow.
What was your long run pace like?
I think it was similar to everyone in terms of the massive deg. The temperature here is sky high compared to anything we're used to. So I think there's a lot of unknowns for tomorrow. But the thing is, top 10 was always going to be a massive ask for us in qualifying, but at least we have a choice of tyres. So everyone else, even a few places ahead of us, has got to start on some new super softs. So it's a good chance.
It's a very good point. Jenson Button 10th will start on the super soft, but could the runners behind him actually benefit from a better strategy in the first stint? Ted, you'll be analysing that tomorrow, but what do you know at the moment?
We'll do some other things as well. Just seeing how far Mercedes can get with these overheating rear tyres. It hasn't hurt Rosberg too badly so far in terms of position, has it? He's holding on to top spot, but let's just see if he can just maintain that oversteer issues, just maintain the level that he can deal with. But it has been the rear tyres going off. I will be asking Red Bull, let's get an answer after the session as to why they seem to have compromised Max Verstappen's race by meaning that he does have to start on the super soft tyre. Oh, and this is the one and only chance, isn't it, for Massa? This is his lap.
And he's locked up going into La Source.
Yeah, and then he spins up the rear tyres on the way out through sheer frustration for good measure, which won't help either. Bit of slow traffic ahead of him. They should stay right and give him the racing line. And his teammate does. And Jenson kind of does.
He's a long way off through that first sector, Martin, already.
Yeah.
What must it be like? 4.35 mile circuit, longest on the calendar, and you go into the first corner, you lock up, and you know you've blown it within the first few hundred metres.
There's only one thing worse than that. When you put it on the line, risked your life, done an incredible lap, and you blow it in the last corner. That hurts even more. At least you've got a chance to try and make it up. But what he mustn't do is try and take time that doesn't exist. Not particularly wide through Braun there, which suggests he didn't carry quite as much apex speed as he could. Again, slightly wide through Fagna. It's not a lap that's working particularly well for Felipe Massa. Get away with that, a little bit pointy into Paul Freire curve, and he's at 1.1 down. This is where the Williams should be nice and slippery and quick. We're seeing top speeds of about 215 miles an hour. Braking uphill, pull down 5-6 shifts. More than that, actually. Straighten the car up, stay right for the shortest run to the line. And Massa only goes P8 with that one, and sadly, that's about all it was worth.
Only P8 because...
So Raikkonen is 21 seconds behind on an outlap, but he did push quite hard to come past us. I don't want him going past this time.
Bradley Joyce talking to Nico Hülkenberg. Only P8 because Raikkonen and Button haven't set a time yet. You rather get the feeling Felipe Massa is not going to be overly happy with that lap at all. Daniel Ricciardo then wouldn't be overly happy with his first lap. It was only good enough for 7th fastest.
And still very, very wide through La Source. Wasn't a fundamental error as such, but it wasn't where he wanted to be. Yeah, I love that. And when the drivers are, all you can see is sky as you climb the hill. And you just keep it pinned, knowing and trusting it'll be there.
Yeah, guys, sorry. I think you guys see what's happened.
Yeah, okay.
Massa with his apologies. Ricciardo with pretty much the same first sector on this lap as he put in on the previous lap. A bit off the pace in the Red Bull.
Again, it's trying to get away from him through Rivage.
Have they just set this car up for the race rather than for qualifying? Have they done something different with Verstappen? Is it a split strategy for Red Bull that might just pay dividends in the race when they can go off and attack as a pair, Nico Rosberg? Or is it just something more than that? 42 degrees track temperature, 31 degrees the air temperature. It really is baking hot here in Belgium this afternoon. And Ricciardo 3/10 down. He's had a better middle sector, made up a little bit of time, but surely not enough.
He's had the last few corners have been sweet as, so he's making up for it a bit in the second half of the lap. And really, he's got one big decision to make in the rest of this lap now, and that's coming up now when he hits the brake pedal, throws the anchors out, just connect with half that curve. That was nice. Rotate the car, get it straight, squeeze the throttle pedal. Ricciardo then will cross the line. What's it going to give him? It's third.
Third fastest, so his teammate Max Verstappen still on as Button goes 8th fastest to break the record for the youngest ever front row starter. There are others behind him that will challenge that, but can Verstappen go any quicker? Looking at his times here, I'm not quite sure this is a personal best for Verstappen. He crosses the line, he doesn't improve. So it's a 1:46.8 that they're all targeting, and I wonder if that track temperature rising a little bit, and is that helping or hindering maybe some? Hülkenberg crosses the line, he can't improve on his time either, so 6th best is the best he's going to get. Kimi Räikkönen now, who has put in his best middle sector, couldn't do it for the first sector, and we're riding on board with him through Blanchimont.
He's going to get in amongst the Red Bulls, though, if he has a good end to the lap. There we go, look at the way that thing stops. That's not quite where he wanted to be, but not too bad.
This could be nice for Kimi Räikkönen, though. As I said, 115 years, races even, since he was last on pole. He hasn't quite done that. By 1/10 of a second, he misses out on pole and the front row, and Sebastian Vettel misses out on the front row as well. He's out-qualified by Kimi Räikkönen for only the 5th time this season. Nico Rosberg will be on pole for the Belgium Grand Prix. It is for Rosberg a 3rd pole in succession. His teammate this week will be at the back.
That's done. Pole position. Well done, Nico. Top job.
Thank you, guys. Awesome recovery. Really good job.
Awesome recovery from what? I haven't seen him having to recover from anything.
His pace wasn't there this morning.
Standout lap from Verstappen.
And he is now the youngest ever front row starter in Formula One. Breaks Ricardo Rodriguez's record from the 1961.
Great job, Max. Really good first lap in Q3 there. Front row for what looks like your home race.
For the 1961 Italian Grand Prix, he was 19 years old, was Ricardo Rodriguez. Verstappen, only 18. His family here, his extended family in Belgium and Holland, have come in their tens of thousands to see him, and that is a very, very popular front row start, and also a very, very tantalising battle into the first corner tomorrow.
Yeah, I think those people gave me some extra motivation to do well, and the car worked brilliantly. Also, thank you to all the mechanics for fixing my car. It was great qualifying.
Yeah, finished practice today with fears that he might have to change his gearbox. It was just a sensor problem. They took it apart, they put it back together again, and well, Red Bull will be mightily happy that they've got one car ahead of the 2 Ferraris.
Yes, the problem is that car is on super soft tyres, and he's surrounded by a sea of soft tyres with Rosberg, Raikkonen, Vettel, Ricciardo tomorrow. So,
but here's the thing, though, Martin. He's on the super softs. If he gets a decent getaway from the grid, he goes into La Source neck and neck with Nico Rosberg here. What's the distance? 271 metres into that first corner. They could be side by side.
Yeah, absolutely. You can overtake here, though, can't you? Up the hill into Le Combe. But that's tomorrow. Today, I would say his was the lap of Q3. The lap of the day for me was Wehrlein in Q1.
Kimi Räikkönen misses out on a front row start, but for the Ferrari driver, it's his best qualifying since 2012 here in Spa. Rosberg is on pole for the 28th time in his career. He's now one short of Juan Manuel Fangio, and his record is Niki Lauda to have a chat with him.
Niki, Toto told us before the session, he said, you know, don't count on the usual story of Mercedes being on pole. How worried were you about this before the session?
I was really worried because nothing seems to get together. Friday, Saturday morning, but now we made it again, thank God.
Do we know how it came about? Did the engineers just make a good call on the chatter?
I don't know, but it all happened. Now we have to analyze why it happened.
Okay, and how do you see the race panning out? Firstly with Lewis, what do you think is the maximum?
Lewis, first of all, he has to go through the first couple of corners, which he will do very clever. I believe in him that he can do that, and then it depends on the speed of the car. But now with Rosberg's car being the quickest, not by far, but at least enough, Lewis will have a good chance tomorrow.
Okay, and Nico has to, well, it's just a matter of managing tyres, isn't it?
Correct. I mean, the race tomorrow is a difficult one. Tyres and different tyres and how many pit stops and so on, but nevertheless, pole is the most important for the time.
Congratulations, thank you.
Well, he did what he needed to do, didn't he, Nico Rosberg? He's put it on pole, his third successive pole, with his teammates starting right from the back of the grid. This is the perfect opportunity, Johnny, to claw a few points back.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a great situation we've got coming into tomorrow, because I think we have such a varied grid with the tyres and the way that the super softs are not going to last very long, and you know, the way that Kimi drove today, who knows what he's able to do. We've still got Rosberg, because Rosberg knows how important it is to get that race win.
Going on to Max Verstappen, as we just looked down there, just confirmation that Lewis Hamilton, he got within the 107%, which he needed to do, and Fernando Alonso going out there with a problem with the car, still trying to find out exactly what the issue was. But yeah, Max Verstappen, as Martin was saying in commentary, there will be surrounded by a sea of softs.
Yes.
So how big a problem is that going to be for him?
Quite big, because I think, you know, obviously with his teammate on those soft tyres, he's going to benefit from that. We know Kimi's there, and we know Rosberg has got them as well. But, you know, we know the super soft is what, 3 laps, and that's all he's going to get out of it. Is he going to stretch 4? I'm really going to be so surprised. Then the grid is going to get so mixed up, but of course those guys on yellow are going to sort of cast their way to the front, and we're going to get battle on, because it looks pretty tight, doesn't it?
As Paul was saying, never seen blistering like it on sets of super softs. The temperature's really working against them. Let's hear from Jenson Button inside that top 10 today.
Happy?
Q3? Yeah, this is by far as good as it was going to get. So, no, very happy with that. And I always love Spa. I always go pretty well here. So, yeah, the Q2 lap was as good as my pole lap here in 2012. So yeah, happy with today, and hopefully tomorrow we can have a reasonable race.
What can you do in the race tomorrow then? I know that the team are bringing upgrades and they're trying to get more power out of the car. Eric said to me, reliability is not a concern for me, it's the power. As long as we can get the power, the reliability will come.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we'd all rather have pace than reliability. And here we definitely did not expect to be qualifying P9. You know, the last race I think we were 11th or 12th, and a circuit that suits us a bit better than here. So to come here and put it P9 in qualifying on a circuit that's very, very difficult for us. Last year we were a second off anyone, I think. So it's good progress, and I think we should be happy with this. And yeah, I have to say that it's one of the best laps I've ever done. So.
Good, glad to hear it. Is it elbows out tomorrow then, and try and hang on to those points with your fingertips?
Well, our race pace is better than our qualifying pace, so I think it's no secret that we're probably running a little bit more downforce than some others. Our consistency is good on a long run. So yeah, we'll see. Get off the line tomorrow first, and I'm much happier that we're P9 than P10, because all the other guys with new tyres behind is always very difficult, so I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Steady progress for McLaren, and a good day at the office for Nico Rosberg. He has taken pole here. Kimi Räikkönen out qualifying his teammate Max Verstappen will also be on the front row of the grid. That's an exciting start we're going to see tomorrow, you would think. Mixed up at the front, the Force Indias are in there or thereabouts. We'll get underway from 11:30 with the track parade. Lights out at 1 p.m. Now there's plenty of other sports going on right now across the Sky Sports channels, and a little bit later on for you we've got the EFL Newcastle against Brighton, in the World Championship from 5:15. 8:30, we've got the Rugby Championship, Argentina against South Africa. Liga, Real Madrid, Celta from 7:10 on Sky Sports 3. Ligan Atletico from 9:15 on the same channel. And the third day of the Barclays on the PGA Tour on Sky Sports.